We rolling?
We're rolling. We're
All
getting
right.
hot too.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Banya. Today we've got, as always, to my left, Dana Lundquist. What's up?
Yo.
And our very special guest, Pat Ware. We found him.
I'm here, man.
Welcome.
So we'll tell.
I got the horns on, so
Yeah,
I'm ready.
Like the devil. So Pat is business owner, Arizona Wilderness. He's a special athlete. He runs crazy amounts of miles, which we're gonna hear about. What do you call yourself? What kind of athlete?
What kind of athlete?
Yeah. What's the?
I don't know, maybe like an entrepreneur athlete where you're just giving yourself therapy.
Okay. No, but like, is there a ultra? It's an ultra marathoner, right?
Yeah, I suppose.
You know what I'm saying? If you're gonna put a label on
Sure,
it, I guess,
sure.
right?
Yeah,
So,
ultra runner. I don't know.
well, yeah, that's what our who's it? I keep bringing him up. Sorry, Dana. That director, Robert.
Robert Rodriguez.
Robert Rodriguez. You know who that is?
Mm-mm.
He's like a famous director. He's done a bunch of shit, you know.
Oh, okay.
Sin City and-
yeah.
okay.
But
right.
he said a super cool thing. He's like, whatever you want to do, you just say you are that. You know, like you want to be an author. Like, I'm an author. You know,
Manifest.
You don't. Well, yeah. You don't need to wait for whatever it is. But
Sure.
yeah.
Like,
so-
at what point do you become something that you're, working towards?
Right.
You know.
Yeah. So labels can be helpful too. Right.
Right.
You know what I mean?
The activities that you engage in,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, like, you don't need to wait for somebody's permission to be whatever it is.
I think, in the context of like an ultra runner,
Uh-huh.
you don't necessarily need to have even completed an ultra, right? To
be that.
To be that.
Yeah,
like
to be
you're
aiming
embodying
for it.
that idea. You're
100%, dude.
You're taking the journey towards that, right?
Exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying.
And like when you have that mindset of I'm an ultra runner, that guides the rest of things in your life. Like, you got to eat right and you got to hydrate and all those things that to become that, right? And if you want to be healthy enough to do that, like, it kind of makes your mindset to that
sure.
direction. Yeah.
Yeah, it's philosophical guidelines.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good governor on the way that you participate in whatever, eating, drinking, we live in the alcohol world, right? So
Yeah.
there's a unique amount of lack of moderation that like swings you back into a level of moderation that when you align that with health and wellness, there's some
Yeah.
competing elements,
Well, that's life, dude. Like, you gotta, it's kind of fun to like find it too. Like, if these challenges didn't exist, like what else would there be to do? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, they're just things in the world to dodge and have fun with and whatever, find your way around.
Staying curious, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're staying curious. What's fascinating to me is like human physiology is just so complex. Talk about a diet. Like, how many diets are there? There's 8 billion because
Right.
every single person's different.
Right.
We don't
Yep.
even start to understand like what gut physiology is until recently.
Right.
You know what I just learned, which is super fucking awesome, and it's like, this has brought me on the path to where, like, not everything, but nature has a cure often for a bunch of things. So my buddy was just at my house and he was showing me his gut test. He paid for this expensive gut test, and he said basically with allergies, you remove it from your diet for 6 months and then you introduce it back, and oftentimes your body will accept that food.
Exposure therapy of some sort.
Yeah. It's just your body just needs a break for some reason. I don't know. I don't know what this in the stomach is happening. But the funny thing is, if you think about it, like 300, 400 years ago, like, garlic wasn't available year round. It came around once a year, and you ate it, and then when it was gone, and your stomach naturally got a break from it, so that when you ate it again the following year, you're fine, right? So
Right.
like, because now with the availability of shit year round, we're just like overexposing ourselves to this shit, and nature had a cure for us, but we've fucked that up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, we're in extreme privilege, right? We could eat 3 different cuisines from around the world in one day, and then the next day do the same thing again.
Yeah.
Of 3 completely different cuisines too.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
With ingredients sourced from every side of the globe.
Yeah, it's not good. That's where, like, getting back to like a whole diet, kind of like, it's impossible probably to like eat like on a calendar basis these days, and why would you? It's kind of, that would be exhausting, you know what I mean? But, getting back to a little bit more of a like natural curve on like, all right, what's ripe, what's in season, that kind of thing. I think I haven't physically done this yet, but I imagine it would put your body in a pretty healthy state to like follow seasonal,
Sure.
you know.
Yeah, I mean, like Ayurvedic eating is like that. Nature is a guide, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Allow nature to guide what would be natural for you, you know, and everyone's got to like tweak that and try different things.
Sure.
You know?
I read the coolest shit too. I have no idea if any of this is true, but I just read it. It was saying that bee venom is it prevents Lyme disease. Bee venom.
Interesting.
Yep. So bee venom's got a bunch of interesting properties, and apparently one of them is combating Lyme disease. And the funny thing, like if you again apply that to like a forager being out in nature, you're gonna get bit by a tick, but you're probably also gonna get bit by bees. So like again, nature, there's a problem, and nature's provided the solution. But again, we've insulated ourselves to the point where like, yeah, we'll go out and we'll get a tick bite, but we're probably not getting bit by bees every day because we don't need to forage for honey and shit. You know what I mean?
Right,
like
right.
there is a natural solution to like a serious, problem. You know what I mean? So
Well, and now we can find these things so readily available. So your body is the ultimate experiment, right? I actually recently I messed around with it's a wasp venom amino acid, and essentially what it does is upregulates your fat metabolism. When that would have been something that wasps would do. They would go for the work for long periods of time, and so you have this. That's kind of one of the fun parts about being a human experiment, particularly in running.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of different ways to approach it.
For sure.
And when you talk about the context of hours and hours, I mean, you're talking days on end. That is the ultimate test of like human physiology. And so you want to leverage those things. Like being in this room right now is an example of like human adaptation to heat.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm sure we're all trying to do this right now because it's 110 outside.
Yeah.
And we can now track it. I can track it on this watch.
Yeah.
And I can see that is happening over 4 weeks or so until my veins are coming closer to the surface.
Yeah.
And, now my physiology is saying, this isn't that big of a deal.
Yeah.
We're just so adaptable.
Well, and I found once I started using the sauna regularly, the summers, I mean, they're hot, they're intense, but it got more bearable. Like my body got used to it. Like, even being in a car you're walking out on asphalt it could be 200 feet walking, from your car to wherever. And just not as bothered. Either I don't sweat as much or just not as bothered by it because my body's used to this extreme temperature of heat that it's like, okay, this isn't so bad now. Which is great. That's a side benefit of saunaing besides all the other benefits. But yeah, it's the extreme heat or the extreme temperatures we put ourselves through.
Which would have been natural.
Yeah, right.
It would have been, because we wouldn't have ever been air conditioned.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. We're so used to air conditioning.
Yeah. Yep.
So is that like a kickoff point of this podcast? Is like start with.
It's a lot of bullshitting, but our main focus is like we're like a lot of our listeners are kind of at the same age that we are, which is just like where you're at or even a little bit older, but they're on the journey to self-improvement. And, a big part of it's just like, as it's like your social calendar, your movements, like, what you're actually physically doing in the day, which is very important. And then what's the third piece I'm missing? Sleep. It's just like these things. And then the thing that like I've been diving into, which you were talking a lot about, was and as a college wrestler, they kind of like put the Reaganism fear in you with like drugs and stuff, as far as like using supplements. Like it was very taboo. Like you just wanted to be as au natural as possible. But I'm at the, getting close to 42 where it's like, it's fun. Like there's a lot of little tinctures and stuff that I can see the results on, pretty immediately, especially like training jiu-jitsu, four times a week, And so that part's been super fun. But yeah, so we're just all like doing this experiment to talk a lot about just bettering ourselves mentally, physically.
This is a very, very millennial idea, right?
Yeah.
We all went hard in our youth and are realizing, there's
Yeah.
another way.
And we've watched our elders to what
Yeah.
happens when you don't course correct.
Well, and not only that, but
sure.
like the seeking of comfort. So we, as a society, like 50s and 60s, it was creating greater comforts for ourselves, whether it be air conditioning in what the 40s, 50s probably.
Stopping movement.
Well, yeah, but it just we've getting closer and closer to more comfortability. So as that kind of the pendulum shifts back, we're finding ways to make ourselves more uncomfortable, to push our bodies, see what they can do. Because
we have to build rooms like this.
Yeah, exactly.
To do it.
Well,
and it just because of being so comfortable, people kind of get soft. And it's funny that for a long time, camping was just something that people did, right? Like you had to do it because it's where you live. But now it's like we go out and we want to rough it in the woods for a week because we want to see what we're made of a little bit and just kind of deal with that, as opposed to the creature comforts of being at a home with running water and gas and all that. So it's, I don't know, I like to think of it as just putting yourself in more uncomfortable places and situations to just grow. That's where growth is, right?
Yeah.
That uncomfortability.
Well, I mean, we've talked about this real quick just on this podcast a lot. Like did you see the Blue Zones documentary?
I did, yeah.
So, again, the simple things that allow these people longevity is movement. That's like one of the biggest things. Like having good social relationships.
Yep.
And like their diet, it's very varied, but they all eat pretty whole foods. You know, pretty much. So
there's no like ultra processed Blue Zone.
So what Dana and I have talked a lot about on this podcast too is like everybody's searching for the cures and like this and that, but everything, it's actually very simple. Like everything, it comes down to movement, getting your mind right, sleeping. I mean, it's
not complicated.
It's not.
And there's no quick
it really
fix
isn't
to anything. I like to think back, like Dean talked about this because he was one of our training partners who lost like 200 plus pounds via running and then started jiu-jitsu. But he had the approach of he's going to get better the same way he got sick, slowly over time, eliminating some of the things that got him sick, just little bits at a time to see the progress. And people want a quick fix. That's why Ozempic is a big deal right now. They want to be able to just get a quick fix and not thinking about there's a long-term negative that's going to come out of this.
I need a quick fix on that cold plunge.
Getting cold. All right. We'll get back in. He's already bowed out. We'll take a quick dip.
All right.
This episode of the Banya is brought to you by Optimize. Optimize is a health and wellness center run by Jesse Meringue, a fellow training partner of ours. They've got amazing center. They've got your cold plunge, your sauna, the infrared, the hot tub, compression therapy, as well as this PEMF therapy. It's like pulse electromagnetic field. It's amazing. Feels crazy, like you get that electrostim. But the idea is you've got a time in there for an hour to switch between different therapies. You can go from the sauna to the cold plunge to the hot tub. Feels amazing. Luke and I just did that last week, and absolutely, it was incredible. So if you're looking to recover from any sort of athletics or just to feel better, go check out Optimize. And for anybody, the listeners, if you just tell them you heard it on the Banya, they'll give you 50% off your first session. So I believe normally it's $39 for the first session for an hour, so it'll be half that. So go check them out. It's an amazing place.
It's probably close to 200, just going off the field.
Nope.
Yeah, it's a running joke. He buys us these. He's a financial advisor, and he keeps buying us the cheapest thermometers known to humans. Oh. What do you think of the sauna though, Pat? Very Arizona Wilderness-y, right?
I dig it, man.
Thanks.
Yeah. This will be my next
build.
Yeah.
Hey,
get the hot and the cold.
Hey, there's wires in here, dude. Oliver, you need to stop. You're gonna electrocute us. I'd love to die that way. Are you gonna have kids, Pat?
Birth control, thank you.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, hang around me, dude.
Yeah.
Don't even dream about it.
Yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead,
right.
Dana. I want to hear that.
Yeah. What got you into ultra
too.
running?
Yeah.
Besides the beautiful feet.
Yeah, right.
investment.
Yeah, I'm like missing multiple toenails.
Those are cool, dude. They're
Yeah.
monkey feet.
Yeah, I think it was
That's the cauliflower ear of runners.
of
Runners,
runners.
yeah.
Yeah. I think some runners actually just remove their toenails. 'cause
Yeah,
it's a
yeah,
pain in the
fuck
ass.
it. Yeah.
I think it was pandemic.
Okay.
To be honest,
Yeah.
yeah. A lot of time on my hands, and I really was like moderating down
No.
Yeah.
alcohol,
Okay.
and so I had a lot of time on my hands.
Yeah.
And obviously at that time, like we were all doing a lot of inner searching,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
For sure.
trying to figure it out,
Yeah.
trying to figure out what drives us, what's important to us.
Absolutely.
And I think that like running in particular puts you in that like alpha brainwave state
Mhm.
where you can really think clearly and ideas come to you, like clairvoyance comes to you at times. And I've always been one to enjoy the suffering a little bit,
Yeah.
you know.
Absolutely.
And John and I both had went on kind of a weight loss journey. We had opened the pub, you know, and it was like wild.
Yeah.
You know, wild drinking and eating and traveling, and you know, we're very fortunate to get that spotlight on us, even though, you know, we would both admit like we were not the number one new brewery in the world. We were just fucking having fun doing things that we thought were interesting, and,
Yeah.
and we fell into an algorithm that said that puts you here, and then that opened up, you know, possibilities and opportunities, which were great things. You know, forever like gratitude for that opportunity, because it
Sure.
doesn't, those things don't just like happen.
Yeah.
The energy for some reason drew us into that, and then it meant that we had to fall off the other side,
Yeah.
you know, and because we rode the lightning for a while, too long, too hard, and we found ourselves at a point where like we went to go skydiving in Colorado, and John was over 250 pounds. I was like over 220, and they wouldn't take him up. They're
wow.
like, he's too big.
Yeah.
And the next day he's like,
No
"Fuck this,
fatties
dude.
allowed.
Fuck this, man. I'm
Get the
running.
bumper sticker on their plane.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
no-
well,
no
yeah, it's a
fatties.
safety thing.
no, I'm teasing you.
But yeah, that kind of started that journey of like, oh, I need to take a look at this. I had been arrested at a beer festival,
Oh, really?
like a few years into the thing, and
For drunkenness? Or
yeah. I mean,
slapping people around?
a bartender grabbed my beard and was yanking on the end of it. So that kind of pissed me off.
Yeah,
and then it was a collision of a lot of things. It was
Right.
like,
Sure.
we were at Hunapu Day, and it happened to be St. Patrick's Day and Spring Break, and you know, all these things.
Yeah.
And then you're just on the street, and you get ripped in the back of a truck, you know, and your face bashed in the ground. But that was a moment for me to be like, oh, I'm in a jail stripped down naked with a bunch of dudes in a swamp.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
baby.
do I have control over myself and my behavior?
Sure.
I need to reevaluate and reassess. And so that period took multiple years of like, okay, how do I like better myself, lose weight, not drink as much and party at these things that were constantly going on. And it's funny you mentioned weed, because that was like my tactic to myself, was like the edibles came on the scene, and I would just like take one at like 9:30, it would kick in by, you know, 11, 12, and I'd be like, I'm going back to the hotel, so
Yeah.
I'm good. But yeah, and then
Checked you out.
and running is really difficult.
Yeah.
It fucking sucks.
Yeah.
You know?
I agree.
And you will fail. Like, you cannot go
Right.
into that and just ramp up and do major things in running. And I
Sure.
got set back often.
Yeah.
And it's very humbling. And I appreciate that, because you really have to take a long view of even your physiology within the idea of training. Because you have to be very patient.
Yeah.
And I think it's a good like analogy for life, you know?
What drives you, like, for us, and a lot of our listeners are jiu-jitsu people, like there's clear demarcations of like your improvements, and then I mean there's tournaments where you're literally competing against another person. So like
Right.
what drives you to get to the next level, and what is that next level?
Yeah, I think that, I don't know if it's, maybe there is a level, because when you think from like just a purely metric standpoint, the way that I did it was like, okay, I'm going to run, you know, a 50K, and then I'm going to do a 50 miler, and then I'm going to do 100K. And you gotta just like put yourself in an uncomfortable, like you're a little scared.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Right.
You're like scared I'm gonna fail.
Yeah.
I'm gonna die.
You know? So that was kind of, and you just need inspiration. If you're gonna spend so much time doing these things, there has to be a why. There has to be some level of inspiration.
Right.
Why you do it? Why are you getting up every day? Why are you going to bed early? You know? What's the point of all that? And some of it is, it makes me better in my other parts of my life because you know, it's funny, like John and I repeat this quote, and I know Elon Musk is controversial now, but one of his
You're in
quotes,
safe listeners' ears here.
one of his quotes was like, entrepreneurial stuff is kind of like staring into an endless abyss, chewing on shards of glass.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's what it feels like.
Yeah.
Where you're like, the problems never stop.
Right.
The stress is always imminent and lurking around the corner. You're one catastrophic thing away from crisis and or being out of business, and they take your home and all your shit. You know?
Yeah.
So to be able to grapple with that, you need something else that can leave you feeling like calm and settled in your life, you know?
Something that takes you out of that where you can't really think about anything else. Like, you have to be thinking about the task at hand, and
you have to be present.
Yeah, exactly. Do you find inspiration from guys like Cam Hanes or Goggins, who just absolute crazy savage people that just do this stuff?
I mean, if you're into ultra running and you haven't went down the Goggins path, like there's no doubt that Goggins is an inspiration, and especially in those times where you're like, man, my legs are beat the fuck up, I don't want to do this, or I'm in the pain cave, everything's going sideways, I want to quit. Where do you go? What well do you draw from? And people like Goggins, that's why he's inspired millions and millions of people. Because he's basically built a mental framework to do that. And I think that's, you can build that like a muscle. Your mind is a muscle to some extent. The most recent race I ran, where I blew these toes up, was I ran out of water and my vision just went blurry.
Oh, wow.
And so I had to run it was about 20 miles or so in the middle of the race in the heat of the day with just blurry vision, man. I couldn't see very well. And I had my pacer, and she was like, you know, trying to guide me, but there's still rocks and I'm tumbling and slamming into stuff. That's not fun.
No.
You know? And you're like, is this what I'm going to be doing for the next, like, 6-7 hours? So you have to go to a space in your brain that's like, yeah, you can keep going. You can
do this.
You can keep going.
Your mind is stronger than your body.
For sure. And that's ultimately, I think, why people get into the ultra world is your body, it'll break down. You'll have the things, you know, running the Mogollon Monster is 100+ miles.
Was that the last one you did?
That was we did this, it was a collaboration with Aravaipa and National Forest Foundation. They're rebuilding the trail which the course went on. And it was just a really cool project because we brewed a beer for it, raising money for that trail. And it was drama. There was a fire on the course, so they had to reroute the whole thing 2 days ahead of time. And then there was torrential hail. And it was only like a 50% completion rate for people who did it. But you're going for 30+ hours. I mean, it took me like 35 hours to finish this.
Wow.
And my body isn't really... There's a disconnect between the two at the end of that. You're just staying in this mindset of like, I will continue, and I'm seeing coyotes and people and things that aren't there. You know,
hell yeah, brother.
Well, speaking of seeing things that aren't there, I got to take a cool plunge. I'm cooking. You good?
You good?
Yeah. I can.
Yeah. Sure. I've been like, it's funny. I've been sauning and cutting weight my entire life, and I don't have like, I don't have like the heat stamina for this stuff. I don't know what it is.
So, as an entrepreneur, I mean, you've done a lot in that space. So you've gone through it and learned this, you know, many, many lessons the hard way, right?
Oh yeah, we failed every possible way.
You know,
so I'm sure there's many of these points, but is there any particular point you can, or like a moment you can point to where you're like, this is it, I'm done, I'm ready to kind of give up on this, or somewhere where you're like, is this really worth it? Like, and how'd you come through that?
How about every other week?
Yeah, I wouldn't be here if it was every other week. But that does come in waves, and there are moments where that. I mean, actually, last year was a tough one for us because we had a few confounding things that collided that were putting us in trajectory to like really be an imminent failure.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, you know, accounting comes to me and is like, if this continues like this, you guys are fucked.
Yeah.
Like, you need to do something now.
Yeah.
And it sent me into this panic, you know, where physiologically I was having panic attacks, you know, and that's not fun.
No.
You know, that's not, and you don't want to give up, but you do hit a point where you're like, I don't know what the fuck to do right now because I'm kind of paralyzed.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not an effective leader when I'm in a fight or flight panic 24/7.
Yeah.
And I'm coming home and laying on the floor and just fucking crying for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and those are defining moments where you have to understand yourself and have the space to take a step back and realize none of this matters. It's okay.
Yeah.
You know? And so
Fuck
for
yeah,
me, back to the nature thing, I went to Eric, I was like, we need to go camping for 3 days straight. I need 0 sounds, music, or anything. Like, can you help me do that?
Yeah.
And that's what we did. We just went out, went into nature. You breathe, you read a book, you get in water, you know, and reset your physiology.
Yeah.
And for me, that was the way to come out of that.
Yeah.
But there have been many moments like that where it's, you try something over and over and over, and you just seem like you're continually failing at it.
Sure.
And the minute you want to give up on it, and you're like, I feel like I just want to scrap this whole thing, something happens. Usually, if you're open and curious and paying attention,
Yeah.
where it comes back and you see the light, and then you can kind of expand upon it.
Yeah.
Our sour program, our wood notes, we had fumbled around with that for years, and we had done some interesting things, but you know, that was one that I really felt at one moment, I'm like, I don't know if this is worth it anymore.
Yeah.
You know, and then lo and behold, Nick, our brewer now, he just showed up. He was in Seattle. His lady was coming back to Phoenix for health reasons, and he just showed up, and I was just like, what about,
Plug in.
why
There's
is
your
Nick
sign.
here? Why is he here? You know?
Yeah.
And those are those things that you try to hang on, you know, but there are times that you do need to like cut the cord and say, this isn't working,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
We've had those for sure. And those are hard, you know?
Yeah.
And that's why, like, from the top, you got to make the hard calls.
Yeah.
You got to have the hard conversations. And sometimes it means you got to let people go.
Right.
And their livelihoods, you know? And that's the weight that I feel sometimes. You're like, damn, you got 180 employees that are relying on you to guide this thing and keep it going, you know? And that can be a lot of weight.
You're not good to anybody dead either, though. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
Right.
there's that. You can easily, I mean,
what's the expression? Put your own life mask on first, you know?
Yeah.
If you're in a good... I think that's also to the point of, like, work-life balance, getting into a hobby like running or jiu-jitsu that keeps you focused and sharp and, like, on your game.
Yeah.
You're better for this other group of people if you're good.
Yeah.
And to fall into, like, an alcoholic stupor isn't actually great for anyone around you,
Yeah.
you know?
For you either, but for anyone around
Right,
you, yeah,
right.
it's all,
Yeah, the long-term outcomes are, you know, they're not great. And I think that's, you had mentioned, like, older generations, like, I feel like that is one that we're seeing right now with our boomer, like, parent groups, is, like, there's a lot of poor health.
Yeah.
And it's all, like, tipping right now. They're in their 60s and 70s, and they're, like, falling apart, man.
Yeah.
It's tough to watch.
Yeah.
I want to
You know?
be not as little reliant on healthcare as I can fucking possibly be. You know, like I don't
Invest
want to.
now.
I don't want to be. And there's like literally, Dana's heard this with my wife and like building the sauna. I'm like, I can, and like people, complaining about the price of good eggs and stuff like that. I'm like, there is nothing better to spend your money on. What
It's
the
an
fuck?
upfront investment.
The fuck else are you gonna spend your money on?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It should be on good food and like things like this. Like this is, you know what I mean? Like
Right.
what else is there to buy? You
It's
know?
the term health span, right?
Uh-huh.
There's lifespan, sure. You can
Right,
spend
yeah,
the
okay.
last
I'm
20
with
years
you.
of your life on copious amounts of drugs in and out of doctors' offices,
Mm-hmm.
or you can address those things at a younger age, and maybe, your eggs cost $8, $9, $10, but your long-term outcomes are better,
Yeah.
right? And maybe you make it till you're 90 without any major health things, and then you die in a couple years rather than, in your 50s, your 60s, your 70s, the saying, yep, just getting old.
Yeah.
And also, well, it's just my, my heritage that my family passed down this problem to me.
Yeah.
It's like, not necessarily.
No,
And it
bitch, you
removes
ate like a
agency
fool.
from you, to give it to something else. Like, no, there's, even if it's a little thing you can do that, whatever that is, maybe you do have a genetic predisposition to something. Like, okay, that's the one thing to focus on then, is how do we reverse that? How do we change that? How do we mitigate whatever it is to hopefully correct it? And for your own future generations, maybe that you can shift that in your genetic, DNA to be able to not pass that on. I don't know how
Right.
that works. I mean, I'm not a doctor or scientist, but just having the mindset that you can change that, at the very least, it's not going to hurt you. That mindset is only going to benefit you.
Stack the cards in your favor.
Right.
Right? Mm-hmm. You take the tenets of wellness with, Blue Zone ideology, you're going to have better outcomes.
Right.
Even if you do have a hereditary thing.
Yeah, relatively better. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you do nothing about it and your lifespan is, to 75 years old, maybe you change that to 80. And that little bit more is going to improve your health span then, right? For that amount of time.
I think there's an educational element. People get so wrapped up in like diet culture and this thing's gluten-free and this thing's that, and like all these labels, when we really should just be looking at like, okay, how is this product made? Where's the transparency? Where's it coming from?
Yeah.
What interventions are they putting into this soil that is now going into your body
Yep.
through an animal or a plant or whatever? And
Yeah, we're being microdose poisons and like everywhere we turn.
And it seems like people are paying more attention.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
But the almighty marketing world,
Yeah.
they're going to co-opt the language there.
Yep.
One that we've been really grappling with is regenerative agriculture, because it's something that I think we can all agree on is beneficial, but defining it and putting parameters around it has been super challenging.
We've seen it happen with everything. It's gonna get co-opted by the big boys.
Right.
Like everything. It's the same cycle. Like we've seen this shit with organic. We've seen it with literally fucking everything.
And you don't want to make it inaccessible. That's the thing. It's
Right.
like, does it have to be
That's the beautiful thing about regenerative farming, though. It's not. Like, if everybody practiced this, it would be on every street corner, in a sense. We're in a desert, so, like, there's hurdles there, you know what I mean? But, like, it honestly, like, if it expanded, it would be, I think, a cheaper way to food.
But we have drought-resistant Taperi beans that grow in the desert. We have Sonoran white wheat that grows in the desert. We have, we have
shit.
Arizona grass-raised beef.
Plenty of
They're
stuff,
regenerative cattle raising. Tim will never market that because he's Tim. He's a rancher.
Yeah.
But like, these are things that the animals are healthier, the land's healthier, the communities are healthier.
Yeah, we had Nick on, and I've been down that battle. My dad has an organic olive mill. He grows his own olives. It's a superior product. It's not even that much more expensive, but these cheap fucking restaurants and people, they just will not open their minds to buying out of the box. They want their Cisco cookie cutter bullshit, and it just that's the fucking problem.
Food cost is the holy grail for a restaurant.
Yep.
For sure.
And that's something that we didn't focus on for a while because it was like, just make cool beer.
Bottom line. Well, yeah, your top line doesn't mean dick. It's just all about the bottom.
But eventually you go, Oh yeah, food costs and labor is how we're gonna keep this shit rolling.
Yep.
And so we need to really understand what do these raw material inputs do to the output of the price of the product.
Right.
And for us, we're willing to take a lesser margin
Yeah.
to do that.
Yeah.
You know, because you can benchmark yourself against Chili's or whatever restaurant and they're pulling, you know, whatever gross margin. We're going to take half that maybe, and that's okay with us.
Yeah.
You know, it just means that our growth and the way that we make decisions has to be a little bit more calculated. You know, we
Yeah.
can't run after markets.
Well, and
in that way.
I think a lot of the importance to what you're doing is the messaging of that to your customers and just messaging in general that let people know what you're doing, why you're doing it, and more businesses like yours that are going to do that and actually, hey, we're going to put out this message of what we're doing and the benefits of, you know, buying higher quality food. It starts to snowball, hopefully, you know, we see. But like you
well,
said,
that's
the big
thing,
boys.
hopefully.
Here's the thing. I'm super sympathetic to restaurants. I understand
Sure.
their bottom line is the
Yeah.
most important part of it. But we switched what we were talking about. That's a different conversation, right? So like what Tim is doing and how people should be eating versus how they are eating and how that's paid for. That's a completely separate thing.
That's
So-
the exact point.
Right.
Yeah.
What people say they want versus what they actually do
Correct.
is different.
Yep.
And I'll be honest, I think what I'm seeing is you can't go into a wholesale model nowadays if you're going to have that intentionality behind your product.
Direct to consumer. Yeah.
You know, Tim does it for us because we've been part of the game
Well,
for a
yeah.
long
If
time
stuff
together.
if stuff
But
falls in your lap, you do it. But
he's a direct to consumer guy.
yeah.
And so are we.
We bought a cow from him. Yeah.
Yeah.
We
want
we're
that's
fans.
a direct
Right, yeah.
supply chain, so there's less hands in it, cutting the margin out of it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, no, there's an experience. There's a world where restaurants and all that exist, but like, yeah, people just need to wake up to like, okay, they're basically buying an experience when they do that, right? Like they're cutting corners on whatever it may be, health, like dollars, right? Obviously, it's more expensive to eat out, like all that shit, but it's just there's going back to the regenerative farm thing though. Like it does work if you know people just buy their groceries a little bit differently, you know.
Yeah.
And like I think there's enough people. I mean, dude, I'm pretty sick of walking into like an average fry store. Like it's gross. You know what I mean? Like like it bugs me. And I think a lot more people like have that eye now where they're like, this is a little bit disturbing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
you're
know?
like, where's the actual food in here?
Right.
Yeah.
All on the outside, and even that's questionable with a lot of it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, a lot of marketing.
Well, so,
firms.
yeah, like the color in the salmon. Like, why are we doing that? You know, I mean, I know like some idiot wants to buy it based on the color, but like, you know, it's
Well, it's an
Pretty
education
gross.
thing. People don't know what is good health, what is healthy food. So it's unfortunate that that's not been more of a focus. You know,
Well,
we go
our
through.
bench-
it's
Market
sad
health.
that they're allowed to even do that though.
Right,
Like I
correct.
get they put the little thing out there like this salmon has coloring in it, but like why are you even doing that? Just don't fucking sell that.
Well, because people have eyeballs and they purchase and eat.
No,
and
I know,
drink
but
with
like
that.
they just shouldn't even be a. I mean, I guess people can do whatever the fuck they want to do.
Yeah, sure.
I go back and forth on all this shit where it's like don't tell people what to do, but then at the same time there's like there are a lot of people that just don't know. You know what I
Yes.
mean? And
Yeah.
that's sad.
Because there's
that's
massive-
sad for them.
massive campaigns that are suppressing that
Look at the
information.
results,
Marketing
man. You know,
campaigns,
you
yeah.
walk into Disneyland or any fries in Arizona, and it's like it. You look at the people, and I truly, I feel, I look at their health like I did, like a video game, like a boop boop boop, and it's just like, it's not looking good.
And you
know
want
what
to
I mean?
help people, you know, but like they're addicted,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
The almighty capitalistic
Dude,
enterprise has.
Did you catch
Done it.
Huberman and Theo Vaughn on dopamine?
I haven't.
That might be the most important. Like, if people can understand that concept.
We'll talk about that. Huberman and Theo Vaughn.
I feel like we could riff until something
Till we die.
dangerous happens.
Yeah. RB almost he almost gave us burns actually. So we're a Banya is it's a Russian treatment. Actually, you would fucking love it, dude. God damn it. I should have prepped one for him. Just
Yeah.
beat the shit out of him. So you need to do this, dude.
Okay.
As a runner, I'll invite you back when we do it.
Okay.
So you soak these oak leaves overnight, and they're dry. I got a bunch from the Russian market. and they rehydrate. And so you come in, you get a massage from your guy, okay? Then you lay out on the bench, and then another guy rotates in and beats you with the leaf. And
I think I've seen this.
Iron. It gets the heat super deep in your muscles, and you get close to fucking dying. It's a beautiful experience. It's kind of like a ceremony. And RB, it gets so hot in here, right? Because the humidity goes up, right? Everything. RB starts dumping water on the rocks, and it's just up here, and our skin is just roasting. Like, it's just literally like boiling.
Boiling your skin.
Yeah. It was horrendous. I've never been that hot in my life.
Yeah.
It sounds terrible.
Yeah. Thanks, RB.
I mean,
stupid
heat
dumb
is
idiot.
no joke. Like, you got to be careful with heat.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I thought you were about to say you got to be careful with RB.
You got to be careful with RB.
You do,
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a crazy dude.
Yeah, he's funny, dude. He's one of our favorites. He's always like farting in jiu-jitsu. He's a big silly bastard. He's probably a horrible roommate, huh?
He's probably just like he used to be. I haven't seen him in 10, 15 years, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully he swings by and says what up before you leave, but he's always fucking flaky too.
I think I've seen this before. There's a guy that I follow that's really fascinating, a guy named Tony Ribble.
Mm-hmm.
He's the natural lifestylist, but he ran the length of England barefoot.
Yeah. Was he on Rogan?
He might have been. Yeah,
okay.
he runs barefoot.
Yeah.
But
dude, those paths, you've been to England and like Cornwall and all those areas? Like, dude, those footpaths are so magical.
Yeah.
Dear God. I love them.
I was thinking about that, like, how could you do that here? And then I realized you can't.
Nah.
Like, you're not running barefoot on Arizona trails for the most part, unless you're up north.
Yeah.
They have some barefoot trails in Flagstaff.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're not super
But you're not
long.
doing
a little
that
bit
in the
of
desert,
actually,
man.
you know what? By Bart, what's the lake
Saguaro?
up? No, the one right by Cave Creek. What's that?
Pleasant? No.
What's the one just right of Carefree?
Elephant Mountain?
No, the lake. The lake.
Oh,
right.
Roosevelt?
No.
Fuck. I don't know. It's Saguaro Canyon.
No.
I don't know
God
those.
damn it.
Apache Lake?
Nope.
No.
No. Those
I
are
know-
all like beeline.
I was just there, yeah.
God damn it.
Somebody knows.
Go there all the time. Whatever.
We have fried our brains.
So I
Officially fried our brains.
Yeah, for sure. So I dirt biked over there a lot, and their paths, they're beautiful, dude. You could for sure run barefoot on them. They're beautiful. They're my favorite to dirt bike on. They're like beaten, and they're super smooth. They're like little whimsical paths. Yeah.
Perfect.
Is it Bartlett? No.
I don't know.
Fuck, Jesus Christ.
get the foot strength up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, some of the Arizona trails are just so rugged. We've I've done a few attempts on like the Arizona Trail.
Yeah.
John and I tried. We've done some bike packing, which is a horrendously hard sport.
That sounds terrible.
But we tried to go from the border of Mexico, and I wanted to go up to Picapos Mountain.
Yeah.
You're talking 300 miles of just.
I want to do that walking with a donkey. I think that would be super fun.
Yeah.
Like a cool donkey.
But they're like really rugged, like hiking trails, and they're just covered in
on a
cat
bicycle.
claw.
Yeah,
I
you're
mean,
carrying your bike up places.
for sure. Yeah.
Sup, bud?
What's your passcode to your computer?
My computer? Go ask mommy. Mommy knows.
No?
Y'all?
No? He said, I don't know.
Oh, okay. All right, I'll help you in a minute. Shut the door, please.
Just tell me what's the passcode.
Well, you can't spell or type, so what's the point?
I want to tell it.
It's Pigman 88.
Pigman.
Yep. Go for it, dude. Lego head. Thanks for coming on, Pat. This was fucking rad.
Thanks for
You're
having
the man.
me, guys.
I've always admired you, dude.
Appreciate you, man.
Yeah, we've been working together for
It's reciprocal.
forever.
You're one of the hardest working dudes I know.
Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, it's nice to meet you, Pat.
It's great
Appreciate
to
you
meet
coming
you.
on.
Yeah, dude.
Before we go, should we hit the
Oh
rocks?
yes, drop some water on those rocks, sir.
Okay.
That's the guest of honor move.
It's gonna get hot.
Enjoy it.
But don't dump the whole thing.
No.
No.
That's the RV move.
What's your
Yeah.
passcode again?
Pigman88.
Everybody hear that?
Yeah, the bank password. You're welcome to all $200 in my bank account.
Yeah, you're right. There's some steam flying out of that thing.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine RB just keep on, just
keep dumping.
unrelenting.
Take a deep breath and get that in your lungs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. That's some next level.
Yep, that steam.
That feels good,
That'll
though.
get you.
Yeah, baby.
That feels good. I think I'm heat acclimated.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd say so.
You're a tough man. I'll say
You got any
that.
parting words for us?
You know, I gotta just give it the goggins. Stay hard.
Stay
yeah,
hard.
that's
Yeah,
right, baby.
That's right.
I got one last piece before we roll, everybody. Remember, anybody that's close to needing jiu-jitsu in their life, send them our way. We're going to get them started.
Yep.
Actually, so if you know anybody, we're doing like a little outreach thing where like we're going to pay, the Banya podcast is going to pay for like the first 3 months of somebody's jiu-jitsu. So like if
cool.
anybody that, it's not even socioeconomical, it's just like our thought process is it just turns people into better people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like we
Yeah.
just want to get people involved. So if anybody's like humming about it or whatever, you know, like we got you covered. We'll get you started,
Yeah.
and then they can do it or not. So
If I'm gonna share this, how do I share it?
So Instagram, we've
Yeah.
got the Banya podcast.
Okay.
Yeah, we're on
we'll
YouTube.
tag you on something, so you'll see that there.
yeah.
Okay.
And then
Oh.
we're on YouTube as well. So
Yeah.
also the Banya podcast,
Yeah, we should. Fuck.
and
Let's-
we'll tag you on.
Here, let's add this in. Dana can cut this in. So, we talked a lot about health and fitness here with Pat, but obviously he's a great entrepreneur here, local in Arizona. They've got 2 locations.
3 now.
3? Where's the
Yeah,
third
we
one?
just opened on Miracle Mile.
Oh, that's so public can. I thought that was just brewing. So
No, man,
you-
we opened a restaurant.
Oh hell yeah! Okay,
Where's that at?
so that's like right west of the 51, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
14th Street, McDowell.
Okay.
Yeah, we put a new kind of more concept menu together for this location. The brewery's moving down there in about a month or 2.
Nice.
But right
Oh, yeah.
now we've been open for a couple months. You know, just doing our thing.
Yeah,
So,
heck yeah.
Yeah, right back up to the Coronado neighborhood.
Yeah.
We've been
Okay.
hanging out with
So
all
yeah,
those folks.
everybody go support Arizona Wilderness. They're doing it right. They're working with local farmers. Their sourcing is, you know, the healthiest version of whatever you can shove in your mouth that there is, you know, that they can do. So
We're working on the seed
Yep.
oil thing right now.
yeah,
Awesome.
you know,
We
it's-
are because, you know, you look at we always do an audit, you know,
Yeah.
and just see where our big inputs. So we found the local grain, we found the local cows, you know, those
Awesome.
are the 2 big ones.
Yep.
And then you go down the line, and the big one right now for us is what's in these fryers,
Yep.
right? And then you look into that and you realize, oh man, this
might
is
be the bigger
canola
problem.
Canola oil. Yeah.
And the canola oil ends up back in cattle feed.
Yep.
In silage is what they use it for.
Uh-huh.
And you're like, man, what a horrible supply chain.
cycle.
So we work with Free Street for our fries, and
no shit.
they're moving over to regenerative palm oil.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're talking with Tim about tallow and trying to figure out how do all these things interplay and how can we upregulate the
Yeah,
supply
yeah.
chain
Yeah.
and also do it in a way that doesn't bankrupt us, which is always the
Yeah.
Yeah.
we call it playing on hard mode.
Right.
But those are the challenges that are really fascinating to me because you can go have the conversations with everybody and see, you know what, there's probably a better way to do this.
Yep.
And it's going to be better for the people, for the planet, for your health, you know. Because I don't want to sit around and eat fried food, so why should I, you know.
make other people
Feed
do
that
it.
to somebody else. Yeah.
If it's fried, we have other options. There's
Yep.
fermented sugarcane. There's a company called Zero Acre that's doing fermented sugarcane. So it's a thing now. Like everyone's thinking and talking about
Yep.
it.
The
Yep.
technology's catching up.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Oh, yeah.
We're just we got 3
Yeah.
spots, so you gotta do it for volume and make sure that it works for
Right.
for your team. So
Hell yeah.
Absolutely.
yeah.
Well, you're the man. Go support Arizona Wilderness. Social media. I mean, you guys
Yeah,
all
AZ
know how to
Wilderness.
fucking find them.
Yeah.
You lazy horse. Go find Arizona Wilderness.
Yeah.
All right, boom. I gotta go, dude. I'm dying here.
Yep.
Pat's trying to kill me. All right, bye bye.
Thank you.